Hello there, good evening, and a warm welcome to Saints Live with me, Kenzie Benali.
And me, Steve Forbes.
Well, once more, the Saints are on the road as they take on Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. And former Saints captain Dean Hammond and NBC's lead soccer writer Joe Prince-Wright are back with us for this one. Welcome to you both. Dean, another bank holiday weekend. Have you had a good one?
It's been okay, Kenzie. It's been all right. I think the kids have had enough of me by now. But yeah, it's nice, and they're looking forward to going back to school tomorrow. But yeah, we've had some lovely family time. But good to be back to the football tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Well, great to see you. And Joe, last time we caught up, you were in glorious Italy. How was your trip?
It was a great trip, Kenzie, and yeah, then I went to the Isle of Wight over this weekend. So it was that was beautiful there with the weather as well. So I'm really lucky to be going to some beautiful places recently, and hopefully we get a beautiful result for Saints tonight.
Good stuff. Well, it's great to see you both as always. Now, the team news is coming up in under 15 minutes' time now. And what we know so far is Paul Onuachu is fit and back in training. Romain Perraud, though, is out for the season now with an injury. Also, Mohamed Salisu, Tino Livramento, and Juan Larios are all long-term absentees. Dean, given that, what kind of lineup would you like to see for Southampton tonight?
Well, I think Alex McCarthy will continue in goal. I think the manager's made his decision there. I think you've just mentioned Perraud being out injured now for the rest of the season. So Cole Walker-Peters, I think, will continue at left back as he did at Newcastle. Lianco, I think, and I would want to continue at right back. I think he gives that little bit more defensive stability to the team, even though he can be proactive with the ball as well. We've seen that in moments in recent weeks. The midfield pairing, I think they picked themselves in Laverne and James Ward-Prowse. I think they play very, very well together and complement each other very well. And then it's a familiar thing. It's the attacking areas, what the manager and how he wants to approach it, and what formation is he going to play, where he plays a 4-2-3-1. I think Shay Adams will come back into the team. I would want Shay Adams to come back into the team to have that striker in the team, the one that's probably the best chance of getting us a goal. His ability to hold the ball up, to bring other players into the team, to have runners around him and in behind him. I think he brings so much to the team. I would continue with Stuart Armstrong. I think he had an effect on the game against Newcastle, and he's had an effect in the game when he came on against Bournemouth and created that goal for Shay. I know that was disallowed, but had a real influence on the team, and I think that's important. His experience is important as well in such a big game. And then it's whether you bring Theo Walcott back in, whether you put Alcaraz in that deeper midfield role to have them runs in behind, and Sulemana as well, because I think it's interesting. I think the club brought him in as a winger, as a left-sided winger, to get into one-on-one situations and take players on. But actually, watching him over the recent weeks, I think he plays better when he's almost floating. He's more of a central position, but he's allowed to drift wide. He's allowed to kind of pick his own position when we have possession of the ball and try and go and make things happen, like he did with the goal against Newcastle when he broke, brilliant counter-attack, made a really, really good run, saw his pace, and a first-time cross for Stuart Armstrong. So a combination of those players I've mentioned, but it will depend on what shape the Ruben Selles is going to go with. But a defensive shape I think a clean sheet tonight is really, really important. We've got to go back to trying to find a way of keeping clean sheets, but with that attacking threat that we've had in moments recently, especially at Newcastle in the first half. We were excellent on the counter-attack. So yeah, clean sheet will be really important, but the attacking players and how they're going to set up, I'm not too sure, but I'd like to see a combination of the players that I've mentioned.
Joe, do you expect to see any changes from the Newcastle game?
Yeah, I think Shay Adams will start up front, right? I would imagine if he's fully fit now. I think he's back up to speed, and that would really help with holding the ball up in this kind of situation against Forest, who are going to come flying out of the traps at home, an expectant crowd. They need the win just as much as Saints do. So you're going to need Shay to really hold the ball up well tonight. And then, as Dean mentioned, the likes of Alcaraz, Sulemana, Armstrong just working off him to pick up the second balls, keep it, hold it, and allow Saints to get up the pitch a bit further. Maitland-Niles or Lianco at right back with Perraud's injury, that would make sense. And then Theo Walcott, for his experience, does he come back into the team? I'm not sure. It's kind of in those attacking areas. It really is Ruben's decision tonight. But I think the key for Saints, Dean mentioned it perfectly there, have to be solid, have to be really solid defensively. And they'll get chances because Nottingham Forest, really a draw for them isn't what they need. So they need to go for it. And I think that'll open up some opportunities on the counter. And we saw that at Newcastle in the first half last week, that Saints can make the most of those opportunities. And just another thing, Forest kind of play of a 3-4-3 in recent weeks. So be interesting to see if maybe Ruben, I don't know if he will adopt a back three or try something a bit different, but it may just be something for Saints to change in game, or maybe play with Lianco maybe at right back, gives you an extra centre back and you can push Walker-Peters on to play further up the left as well. So there's lots of options for Saints, but I think we now know that the likes of Shea Adams, Alcaraz, Sulemana, Armstrong need to be in the starting lineup as their best attacking weapons.
Looking back at that match at Newcastle, forgive the cliche, Dean, but it was a game of two halves, really. Southampton performing pretty well in the first, taking the lead, and then Newcastle recovering in the second period. Can you talk us through that first half and what Saints did well?
They were brave, Steve. I think that's what was really, really impressive. And they almost surprised Newcastle in their approach. We're seeing the move straight away. And this was in the first couple of minutes. Combination Cole Capita, Stuart Armstrong, Sulemana. But the interesting thing is, and the positive thing is, there's probably 5 or 6 Southampton players in the Newcastle box. And we've not seen that all the time from Southampton, sometimes being too conservative. But what it comes from, Southampton were really, really good at winning the ball back, at pressing Newcastle, at putting them under pressure, setting traps defensively, almost retreating to the halfway line. And when they got the moment to press, they really pressed with energy, with enthusiasm, with pace. And every opportunity we're seeing here, every chance we're seeing in the first half comes from Southampton winning the ball back. Lavia winning that ball. This is the goal. It's brilliant from Lavia. And then you've got Stuart Armstrong breaking, Alcaraz breaking, Sulemana breaking. And what I like about this with Sulemana, and we don't see this all the time, it's a first-time cross. He doesn't try to take a touch and then try and take his defender on or cut inside to get a strike. It looks like the team have really worked on that in training. If we get in these situations, we need runners with pace, with energy, with determination. We need a good delivery, a good timing of the pass from Alcaraz, and then put it into an area. And Stuart Armstrong holds that area. He's really patient and he gets around the penalty spot. And it's a very, very clever finish and a really good finish. But the players in those moments were getting between the width of the 18-yard box. We weren't staying really, really wide. So it was better. We were getting players in more attacking areas, more threatening areas to be able to get a strike at goal. So the first half was really, really impressive from Southampton. In moments, they rode their luck defensively, but they were pretty strong defensively. Like I say, Lavia was fantastic, especially in that first half when he broke up play, kept possession really, really well. But Southampton were brave, they were confident, and they had real belief in that first half. And unfortunately, they couldn't continue it for the whole game and ended up losing the game and came away with nothing. But in the first half, they carried a threat. They surprised Newcastle, and they were probably the better team. So that was a real positive in that performance in the first half, especially.
Well, Dean just said it there. Southampton couldn't continue that into the second half. I mean, it was a completely different story, wasn't it, Joe? With Newcastle having 17 shots to Southampton 0. What went wrong there?
Well, first thing, Kenzie, obviously Newcastle, credit to them. They're a very, very good team. They're fighting for Champions League qualification for a reason. We saw against Arsenal recently. I mean, they could have scored 3 or 4 in that one. And they're just very hard to stop when they're playing with this kind of confidence and they blitz teams in the second half often. And that's what they do. They just stay in games and then flashes of brilliance. But we're seeing it here. The main thing for Saints, the ball just wasn't sticking up top. You can see these clips here, misplaced passes, players making the wrong runs, not being on the same wavelength. And the main thing for me was that the midfield was totally sort of overwhelmed, and that led to Newcastle winning the ball back, then getting it wide early. And then the likes of Isak and Willock were just getting down the flanks, and Joe Wellington as well. And they just really did overwhelm the Saints in those wide areas. And then that's when they got the ball into the box, and Callum Wilson and others were on hand to finish it off. So it all kind of broke down from everything Dean spoke about there in the first half, going well with being aggressive, stepping high, winning the ball back. As soon as it didn't go their way in the second half, Saints just were way too passive, sat back. I mean, Ruben Selles has come out and said that. and almost was like they tried to defend their lead for the entire second half, and that's very, very difficult to do in any game, but especially away at Newcastle, the way they're playing right now. So it was a bit more negative in the second half. You can see Saints had a few forays down the flanks in the second half, but again, that just really sums it up. Misplaced passes, not being on the same wavelength, and after such a promising first 45, really disappointing second 45, and in many ways, story of Saints this season, haven't been able to put together a full 90-minute performance for many games this season. So that has to be something they improve, not only this season, but going forward. But second half, Newcastle overwhelmed them, and that can happen to most teams.
Okay, well, let's hear from the Southampton fans watching from near and far. This is what they've been saying across our social media channels. Stephen Townsend says, show passion and show the fans you want to win tonight. Fire Pro says, come on you Reds, 3 points needed. Also Chris Bennett says, come on you Saints. John Ershaw on Facebook says, come on, you can do it, Saints. Also Norma Scott here says, just do your best, come on the Saints. David Joel Emblem says, just give it a go, lads. Have pride. And one last one here from Stephen Newbury on Facebook, who says, this is the last chance saloon. Well, let's hear from our manager now, because Ruben Selles was telling us about his approach to the next 4 games in his pre-match press conference.
So Ruben, 4 games left, you're 6 points from safety. It could be worse by the time you play at Forest. How are you going to get out of this?
Well, we are going to be focusing what we can do, and this is it's not 4 games left. For us, it's 1, and it's Nottingham Forest on Monday night, and that's all our focus. We don't see more than that, and we cannot control what the others do, but we can control our mindset and how we are going to go and play the game against Nottingham Forest, and that's what we have been doing, and we are going to go and try to win that game, and that's our way to focus on that.
So it's not mission impossible right now?
Absolutely not. It's still points to play. I think we showed that we can perform. For us, it's about how we can be more robust in our performance and translate that performance into points.
There we go. That's what Ruben Selles had to say there on the team. Now, Dean, he spoke about needing to be more robust and turning performances into points. Now, we have had encouraging spells, but what areas do you think need improving on?
Game management, I think, would be really important, Steve. Being aware of the situation of the game, how the game's going, whether you're under pressure, whether you're conceding possession, whether you're conceding territory. Do you need to try and keep a shape and see out a spell? Or are you on top and you need to capitalise on that and be more ruthless and get more players in the box, more players forward? Just moments like that. I think clean sheets will be really, really important, because when Ruben Selles first came in, we kept, I think it was 3 clean sheets in his first 4 games. You know, the victory away at Chelsea, we beat Leicester, I think, we drew at Man United. I think that gave us a real foundation to go and win games. We weren't chasing games, we were always in games. And I think the players' confidence and belief and hope grew from that. I think that was really important. I think one thing that's affected the players maybe is the lack of consistency in team selection. I think Ruben Selles has been trying really hard and desperately hard to find his best team. A lack of consistency in shape. I think he's continually tried to find the best shape. I think he has of late, and that's helped performances, not necessarily results, but performances. Set pieces have been a problem all season. You know, we've conceded from set pieces in vital moments when maybe we have been on top, maybe we have had more possession, we are creating opportunities, we are putting the opposition under pressure. They have one counter-attack, get a set piece and seem to score. And also, I think, which has been a little bit evident, is we seem to start the second half quite slow. If we have a really good first half, but don't capitalise on that and don't score and don't get in front, I think the players maybe feel a little bit of pressure from that they haven't taken their moment and may feel that the moment has passed and now that it's going to be difficult to win the game. And then the second half, we concede a goal. We have in moments responded really, really well. I'll go back to it. The Tottenham game where we came back and fought back and got a brilliant draw. The Arsenal game where we put a great performance in but couldn't hold on to it. But reacting to disappointment. And that comes from the experienced players. When you concede a goal or you're under pressure, you're having a difficult moment, it is then the experienced players to really get and galvanise the players and help them understand what is happening in that moment on the pitch.
All right, well, we're going to get to the team news now. 3 changes to the team to take on Nottingham Forest this evening as Maitland-Niles, Walcott and Adams come in for Lianco, Kamaldeen, Sulemana and Musa Djenepo. So let's run through that Saints team in full then, shall we? In goal, it's Alex McCarthy. Occupying that left-back position is Carl Walker-Peters, who is making his 100th Premier League appearance for the Saints this evening. Then it's Armel Bella-Kotchap, Jan Bednarek and Ainsley Maitland-Niles at right back. In the midfield, it's our captain James Ward-Prowse and Romeo Lavia. Then the front 4, Stuart Armstrong, Theo Walcott, Charlie Alcaraz and Che Adams, who makes his first start since the 3-3 draw with Tottenham on the 18th of March. Let's take a look at those Saints substitutes then. Gavin Bazunu, Duye Shaleta-Sarr, Lianco, Moi Elianusi, Sam Adozi, Kamaldeen Sulemana, Adam Armstrong, Paul Onuachu and Sekou Mara. Joe, let's come to you then for your thoughts on today's starting lineup.
Yeah, obviously great to see Shea coming back in for a start for the first time in a long time. So that's great news. Theo coming back in, I think his experience, and obviously he's popped up with some big goals in recent games against Tottenham and Arsenal. So you need him out there today. And then, yeah, it was a toss of a coin really between Maitland-Niles and Lianco at right back. And obviously gone with Maitland-Niles to start with. And maybe he just gives Saints a little bit more on the ball and going forward to keep it and kind of just try and compose them a little bit. But I like the shape. I like the system. I think obviously, you know, having Alcaraz just buzzing around and making those runs beyond Shea. I mean, we saw that in the win against Leicester at home, but due to Shea's injury, we really haven't seen it much since then. So I'm excited to see if they can do something similar as a partnership tonight. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much as strong as Ruben could have gone. And I love that on the bench it's basically all out attack as well. There's so many attacking players he's picked. So depending on the game situation, he's got a lot of options there to turn to on the bench. But yeah, decent lineup.
Yeah, Dean, what are your thoughts on this team to take on Nottingham Forest tonight?
Well, I think, like, I agree with what Joe said. I think if you look at the team, Ruben Selles has picked a team to win the game and go and really put some pressure on Nottingham Forest in attacking areas and take the game to Nottingham Forest. They do have vulnerabilities defensively. They do concede goals, but they do have a very good home record. And the pressure's on them. They need to win tonight. They really, really do. This would be a game they've identified that they need to get 3 points realistically. So the attacking areas, there's some real threats there. I like the fact that Alcaraz continues in that kind of number 10 role, but a number 10 role where he runs in behind. He's a real attacking threat, but also having that extra midfield player so he can help in possession, make really good angles. I think he's got some good assists of late. He looks like he's a natural goal scorer when he gets in those positions. I agree with Joe. Che Adams coming back into the team is a real positive, and I'm very glad of that. I would have preferred Lianco playing at right back if it was down to me personally. I think he's performed well enough of late, and he gives you that bit more defensive stability, like I mentioned. But if you're bringing Theo Walcott back into the team, I think him and Maitland-Niles actually combine pretty well and have had moments in games and spells in games down the right-hand side where Maitland-Niles will overlap. Theo Walcott will come more narrow. There's 1-2s. So they seem to have a bit of a relationship and combine very, very well. So that seems a natural choice. So yeah, a good, positive team that can go on and cause Nottingham Forest problems and can win the game. And like Joe says, lots of attacking options on the bench for players to come on and make an impact if we need to score a few more goals tonight. So 3 points for Southampton is hugely important tonight. And this team can definitely cause Nottingham Forest some problems.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, for just a moment, we're going to cast our minds back. Obviously, that 1-0 defeat to Nottingham Forest in January was a night to forget, wasn't it, Joe? I mean, Forest scored with their only shot on target. And we wanted to expand on this, actually, because Southampton have played 9 matches this season where their opponent has had just 2 shots on target or fewer. However, we've actually lost 7 of those matches. You can see the graphic there on the screen. I mean, Joe, it really feels like these fine margins are costing Southampton incredibly dearly.
Yeah, so true. I mean, when you look at those results there, it could have gone so differently, right? I mean, in terms of the points that Saints could have gained from that easily, I think another 8 or 10 points from those games. I mean, I think I remember back to Che Adams missing from a yard out against Wolves, lost 1-0, could have easily been a draw, maybe won that. Should have definitely drawn away at Fulham. That was a really good performance. picked up a point. There wasn't much in it at home against Forest. Should have at least got a draw. Probably should have beat Wolves at home. And then even against Crystal Palace recently and Bournemouth, you'd say there's at least another couple of points dropped there. So it's so tight, the margins. And I think, this season's been so disappointing for a number of reasons, but mostly because Saints have been in games. It's not that we've ever felt that they've been absolutely played off the pitch. It's just small decisions at both ends of the pitch, which just haven't been correct often enough. And we've seen sort of how ruthless the Premier League level can be. And maybe just experience is coming into this a little bit. We all know it's a very young Southampton side. And for most of the season, you have players all over the pitch that are learning the Premier League at the top level in a really harsh way and just haven't got that experience under their belt. So, it's difficult. We're seeing obviously here Forest goal in the reverse game. And I think goalkeeping has been an issue. It's fair to say that. Gavin Bazzuno is a really good young prospect, but had Alex McCarthy been in goal and been fit for most of this season, would Saints have picked up more points? Probably. I think it's fair enough to say. I'm not trying to be too harsh on Bazzuno there, but there has been some moments there where it seems like every single shot Saints concede on target, they concede a goal almost at times, and that just can't happen. And at the other end of the pitch as well, as I mentioned, Shea missing that big chance against Wolves. Those are the kind of things that, if worst case scenario does happen, the Saints do go down, then the Saints players really, I think that will haunt them, those kind of moments throughout the season, because it's just really, really small margins. And if you look at the whole bottom half of the Premier League table, I really don't think there's that much between all of the teams in that part of the table. So, small margins. Again, I think it's just the hope that kind of gets you as a Saints fan this season, because they've been so close to just getting big wins and they've put in some really good performances. But now it's all about translating it into 3 points each week for the rest of the season. So there is still hope there. And there's been enough positives throughout this season to see that Saints could still pick up a couple of wins between now and the end of the campaign. But Dean mentioned it earlier, have to keep clean sheets and have to do it very quickly if they're going to stay up.
Okay, well, don't worry, Dean. We do have a stat-related question for you as well. Nottingham Forest have used 33 different players this season, while Southampton have used 32. That's the highest and second highest in the league. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a lot, Steve, for both teams. And Nottingham Forest, you can kind of understand. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they signed 22 new signings. So a manager looking for his best formation, his best players, and it took a while for them to adapt to the Premier League as well. So you can kind of understand that. It surprises me about Southampton, because it seems to be similar players each week. But I think that comes down to having 3 managers within the season, difference of opinions on players, changes of formation, injuries to players, losing games. Both teams are at the wrong end of the table. And when you're losing games and not scoring goals and maybe not performing as well as you want to, you're always looking for that solution. You're always looking for that way to win a game. What can I change? What are we not doing well? What one player can I bring in that maybe will change things? And Southampton, with a young squad, there's going to be players that are going to have fantastic performances, fantastic games, and then their form's going to really, really dip, and they're going to come away and they're going to be below par. So they need to be taken out, and there needs to be changes. But for me, for Southampton, it's the changes of managers. 3 managers in the season is not a normal thing for Southampton. It's not a normal thing for these players. So you have a manager that wants to play one way, another manager comes in and wants to play another way, and then a new manager that comes in that's young, that's vibrant, that has new ideas, that wants to prove his point, that's enthusiastic, has another way. So it's been difficult. It's been a really difficult season for the club, for the players. And like Joe said, they've always given us a little bit of hope because of the performances. And there isn't much between the teams down there. There really isn't. I know Southampton are bottom, but you look at the stats that in the previous questions, there's only a goal in each game. If you draw 4 of those games and win one of them, the picture looks completely different for Southampton. So they're not a million miles off. The problem is we're running out of games and running out of the chance of getting points to get out of the situation. So it's too many players, Steve. I think it's really hard to build relationships, to build understandings. to find your best performances. So it's been difficult, but it's just managers trying to find their way and the best formula to win games for Southampton.
Okey-doke. Well, let's see what the fans are saying following that team news. Vishnal on YouTube has said he's hoping for a cheeky 1-0 win tonight. Swifty said that Charlie, Shea and Ward-Prowse are all to score in a 3-1 win. James Pope says he's very positive on the team that's been chosen tonight. Also, Phil Palmer says Sulemana and Edozie to come on after half-time and make an impact. Also, another one here saying a decent team. And Will Brook also agreeing, saying it's a good team selection this evening. Well, Joe, one player who won't be featuring for the rest of the season is Romain Perraud after picking up his injury against Bournemouth. Now, he featured in 29 of Southampton's 33 Premier League matches prior to that. What do you make of the season that he's had so far?
Very solid season, Steve. Obviously, second season at Saints after arriving from France. I mean, he's scored 4 goals in all competition. I think he's really offered a threat from the left flank. He, loves to surge forward and get involved. We're seeing some of these strikes here against West Ham. Scored another good one against Newcastle. And, I think what you can always say about Romain Perraud is that he always works hard and he always puts in a shift. Fans love that, love his passion, his energy, his commitment. And, it's a given, right? But, unfortunately, not every player does do that. And Perraud just wears his heart on his sleeve. He just works up and down that left flank all game long. And I really love that about him as a Southampton fan. When you see his name on the team sheet, he's going to go out there and give his absolute all for the club. I think sometimes he still has to maybe improve his crossing and final decision in the final third, and defensively as well, a few times maybe checking over his shoulder if he's caught as the last man covering when a cross comes into the box. It's difficult. I'm nitpicking here, but if he will tell you, he probably has to just improve on those couple of little things at either end, as every defender has to improve. But I think when he's in the team, he gives you balance. And yeah, he's a big loss for these final few games, because I think, whatever happens next season, I'd see him as a starter for Southampton. And yeah, he's really a kind of a fan's favourite, I would say, for his commitment, his effort, and his ability to get forward and just add something extra in attack whenever he's playing.
Yeah, we're wishing Roman all the very best. Time now, though, to take a trip down memory lane. It's actually been 11 years since our last visit to the City Ground. Dean, you were playing in that one. The Saints won 3-0, of course, with 3 different goal scorers. And you were doing your best to add to your goal tally as well.
I was, Kenzie, but I still couldn't score, even though I was trying my best. But yeah, I think if I remember rightly, I think it was at a spell where Nigel was actually asking more goals from midfield players. And yeah, I think I took that to heart, and I was shooting on sight, if I'm honest. But it was a really, really good performance on the day against a difficult Nottingham Forest team. We had a few injuries. I think Ricky Lambert was injured at the time. I think Dan Harden was actually playing right back, and he's obviously a natural left back. Jack Court was playing right wing. David Connolly and Gulli De Prado were playing up front. So a really good, solid performance. I don't know why I was getting so animated here and so involved. I think I was play acting a bit and just trying to get that little advantage to make the game a bit easier and play against 10 men, and it worked. So you take it on the day, but a comfortable performance, an enjoyable performance. Morgan Snyderling getting on the score sheet, which didn't happen too much, but he always had the ability to do it. David Connolly coming up with a brilliant finish here. Dan Harding coming in on his left foot, and David Connolly was a good player, an important player during his spell at Southampton. Didn't play as much as he wanted to through injuries, but a top-class player and a top-class pro as well, and made those really intelligent runs. And Morgan's goals coming up here, and obviously I'll take the assist because it was a brilliant pass to him before that 5-yard pass. You can never underestimate that. Always playing to the basics. So enjoyable day, and I think it was coming towards an important part of our promotion season. It was a really important win. Should probably do better with the strike here and keep it down. I gave the goalkeeper too much of a chance and was a little bit frustrated, but there we go. It was a good performance and really enjoyable. And if we can get a 3-0 win today with a couple of midfield players scoring, that would be a bonus.
That would be fantastic indeed. Well, Joe, as we just saw, Morgan Schneiderlin got the third goal there. He'd only scored 2 in 3.5 seasons for Southampton, but he certainly was capable, as Dean said, of a decent strike.
He was, and Dean was right. The best thing about that goal is the assist, to be honest. He put it on a plate for Morgan. So fair play to you, Dean. Brilliant assist there, mate. But yeah, he did sort of add a lot more goals to his game, Morgan, didn't he? The more that years went on at Saints in the Championship and then in the Premier League. What a fantastic strike, and what a player he was for Saints. The thing I loved most about him was that Morgan always knew what he was good at, and he did it very well. He would get on the ball, be brave, get the team moving forward, always wanted to get on it. And he always seemed to have time when he got on the ball as well. Was very calm, read the game well, and had a great engine alongside Dean and others in midfield. So he always got the feeling as well. Again, Morgan was someone that really loved the club and loved playing for the club and was on the journey from the very start up the leagues. And he had the chance to meet him over the years. And you could tell that he really loved the area and the city of Southampton. And it was great to see him sort of play for France at the World Cup in 2014. And, went on to win the FA Cup with Man United. And, he spoke glowingly about his time at Saints recently and admitted he probably should have stayed at Man United for a bit longer before moving on to Everton after, a few managerial changes at Manchester United. But yeah, Morgan Schneiderlin always had a long-range effort in his locker. And when Dean Hammond's putting on a plate for you, what else can you do but put it in the back of the net?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's always nice to revisit some fond memories, but of course we need to look ahead to this evening's match. Dean, we'll come to you first for your final thoughts and your score prediction, please, ahead of kickoff.
Well, we've been saying it for a few weeks now. It's a huge game and a game that Southampton have to win tonight. So I think the approach there, the team selections there, is going to be difficult. Nottingham Forest have got a good home record. They're a much stronger team at home than they are away. I would love a clean sheet tonight from Southampton. I think that would give them a really good chance of winning this game. But I think I can see goals tonight. I think there will be a lot of goals because both teams need to win. It will be an open game. It may be a slow burner, but I think eventually once the first goal goes in, it will be an open game. So I'm going to go for I was going to go for 2-1, but you know what? I'm going to go for an ambitious 3-2 Southampton win tonight. Oh,
okay. Well, Joe, what do you think then? Dean's predicting goals. What are your thoughts?
The complete opposite, to be honest. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Southampton. I think it's going to be really cagey and tense. I think both teams sort of know the enormity of this task. I mean, Nottingham Forest, you look at their other home game remaining this season is against Arsenal. So they really know that they have to win this one, I think, and to give themselves a chance of staying up. But they're really good at home. Dean mentioned it a couple of times. I mean, 24 of their 30 points this season have come at home. But 4 of Saints' 6 wins this season have come away from home. So, I just fancy Saints. There's a lot of experience in the team, especially from the start today. Control the situation, quieten the crowd down early, just stay in the game as long as possible. And then I really like Shea Adams up top and Charlie Alcaraz and others running off him. I think that could cause Nottingham Forest a lot of problems, but just stay in the game for Saints. And if they do, I think the home crowd will get a bit nervous. That will translate down to the pitch. And I just fancy, Shea or Ward-Prowse or Theo, one of the more experienced players, to step up with a big moment and get a big 1-0 win. But if it's a 3-2 win, there's loads of goals, like Dean said, then I'll be totally happy with that as well.
Good stuff. Well, thanks again, Joe and Dean, and we'll speak to you after the match. Well, not long to go now until kick-off at the City Ground, where Southampton will be hoping to claw themselves closer to their relegation rivals with the end of the season fast approaching. Either way, we'll all be back on the final whistle with post-match reaction and analysis. So do enjoy the game, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.